Ronaldo Hayes, he got tossed the ball and he was running with it. He was running. He jumped over 3 linebackers in midair. He sprouted antlers like a gazelle, like an elk. He landed again, he ran. He scored a touchdown.
Nicolas Cage's career has been going strong for almost 40 years. But as all careers in life in general, they are very similar to roller coasters with ups and downs, and not every career choice is the best one. Cage has been in classic cult films such as Face Off, The Rock, City of Angels, and many more. Some were box office blockbusters and others were more personal indie films, and with that came a string of very bad movies. Mostly during the time period when Nicolas Cage was being in trouble with the IRS for having spent exorbitant amounts of money without taking into account taxes that needed to be paid. Even so, Cage has been extremely entertaining, portraying heroes and villains, and his talent did win him multiple awards, earning him a star on the famous Hollywood Walk of Fame. On the flip side, he was also nominated for a couple of Golden Raspberry Awards known as Razzies, which are presented during a parody award show honoring the worst of cinematic underachievements. These awards led him to being made fun of in the form of viral videos portraying some of his worst overacting moments, where he looks extremely eccentric and portrays some exaggerated over-the-top acting. Critics sometimes have a hard time pinpointing the actor's technique and often make the audience wonder what his acting process is. With all this in mind, I personally love Nicolas Cage as an actor, and he has made many good movies, but for the focus of this video, I'll look at his top 5 worst movies, well, because why not? Just remember, it's not because something is bad that it necessarily means that it shouldn't be watched. Quite the contrary. So, without any further ado, the first movie that I'd like to speak about is the 2007 movie Ghost Rider, directed by Mark Steven Johnson. As the title says, this movie is based on the Marvel Comics character of the same name. In brief, the film tells the story of Johnny Blaze, who at the age of 17 makes a deal with a demon called Mephistopheles, offering to cure his dad's cancer in exchange for Johnny's soul. He does cure the cancer, but Johnny's father dies the next day from burns sustained in a stunt accident. The demon considers their contract fulfilled and comes back years later, transforming Blaze into the Ghost Rider, the devil's own bounty hunter, and sends him on a mission to defeat Blackheart, who is Mephistopheles' son, in exchange for the return of his soul. Nicolas Cage does a decent job at portraying the lead character Johnny Blaze, but the campiness of the whole film just makes it hard to watch. Even though the comic book source material is really good story-wise, the movie strays from it and seems to try too hard at making this into an epic superhero film. An interesting character choice on Cage's part was the fact that he strayed from the original comic book Johnny Blaze portrayal of a hard-drinking and smoking badass, and he decided to play the character more as someone who made this deal and he's trying to avoid confronting it, and spends a lot of time trying to keep it away from him. According to Cage, Blaze's stunt riding was a form of escape and a way to keep him disconnected to his deceased father, who taught him how to ride. The second movie that I'd like to speak about is the 2006 movie entitled The Wicker Man. This movie is a remake of the 1973 British film of the same name, but also takes a lot of material from David Pinner's 1967 novel Ritual. Even Cage acknowledges that the film was absurd. Actually, 2 scenes in the movie, including Cage discovering the burned doll and a gruesome scene where he gets tortured by bees, made it a very popular internet meme and contributed highly on other videos depicting Nick Cage's extravagant acting style. The Wicker Man tells the story of police officer Edward Malice, who is looking for Rowan, the missing daughter of his ex-fiancée. On his investigation, he goes to an island and comes upon neo-pagans who he suspects in having something to do with Rowan's disappearance. Moreover, his investigation is often blocked by the villagers' evasiveness in answering the questions. Many strange plot hole twists occur throughout the movie, including a scene where Cage is disguised in a bear suit as he joins the fertility parade led by the head sister of the island. On a discussion about the movie, Nicolas Cage says that there's something mischievous in the mind of the Wicker Man, and acknowledging the fact that this movie is totally absurd can only be done now that it's released, as during filming it's best to let the script live its life. At the same time, he acknowledges that in the hands of a Japanese filmmaker such as the original Ringu movie, The Wicker Man actually had the potential to be a great movie. The third movie that I'd like to speak about is the 1993 movies Amos and Andre, directed by E. Max Fry. As far as Nick Cage flops, this is probably one of the biggest. The movie is a very poor attempt at creating a sort of commentary on race in America, bundled up in this very silly premise. As mentioned, some bad movies are worth the watch and others have nothing that should make anyone want to see them. What's sad about this whole tragedy of film is that usually Cage's performance is eccentric enough to make one want to sit through it. But in this film, he's just normal. Amos and Andre is a typical odd pair buddy movie where a wealthy African-American man, played by Samuel L. Jackson, purchases a weekend home on a predominantly white island and is mistaken by neighbors for being a burglar because he is black. In today's world, with all that's happening, such a joke simply doesn't play out well with most people, even though this movie is desperately trying to teach a lesson, which is don't judge a person by the color of their skin. The humor is kind of lost just from the gravity of the situation. The best part of the movie is the relationship of Coleman, played by Cage, who is portraying a petty criminal, and Samuel L. Jackson playing the wealthy millionaire Andrew Sterling, who hired Cage to act as a house invader pretending to take Samuel L. Jackson hostage. Through this, they make discoveries about each other as they figure out what must have happened to them to get to this point in life. The producers and directors probably had good intentions making this movie because they tried to teach a lesson about how our society needs to change their idea towards people of color, but in order for it to work, it should have been less on the dot about the subject. The fourth movie that I'd like to speak about is the 2014 movie Left Behind, directed by Vic Armstrong, that deals with the biblical subject of the rapture within branches of American evangelicalism, that speaks about an end-time event when all Christian believers who are alive, along with resurrected believers, rise in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air. Christian readers and audiences are the base for this movie, but it's really difficult to imagine such a bad movie as is inspiring anyone in finding the Lord unless it induces people to pray for the movie to end faster. The VFX for the movie are atrocious, and the big set pieces look small and unappealing. The lighting for the movie is harsh and flat, and the monotonous pacing of airport scenes interconnected with a plane and the skies crossing the Atlantic overlooking chaos happening on the ground is extremely poorly executed. But the biggest disappointment comes from Nicolas Cage in the role of Rayford Steele, an airline pilot who sees that light as the end is coming over the world. Usually as spectators, we'd expect a wild card performance with unexpected character choices. But in this movie, Cage simply plays an unexciting voice of reason. His makeup, well, it makes his skin look rubbery, and clearly a helmet-like wig of black hair making it, well, just that more distracting. This is probably one of the most, if not the most, awkward and unconvincing performance of his career. Left Behind does finally go towards an enjoyable level of weirdness and insanity as it reaches its finale, but the movie is so poorly written leaves the audience wondering about God and why he would just choose this particular moment in time for him to inflict his wrath upon Earth. The fifth movie that I'd like to speak about is the 2018 movie Mandy, directed by Panos Cosmato. Okay, I'm probably going to get criticized for saying this movie is bad because many critiques love Mandy, but I just didn't get it. In some ways, it's really hard to even make a critique about a film like this, as it's really difficult to capture it tonally and narratively. Mandy is shot in a very stylized fashion and really takes a lot of concentration to be able to sit through it, at least for myself. This movie is a thriller combined with a vengeance piece about a man killing those who have destroyed his life. Some people have compared this movie to an 80s heavy metal album, but it's even more than that. Mandy is a slow journey into hell for the first hour, followed by a gory, blood-soaked second half filled with a chainsaw fight more than I'd ever really want to see on the screen. The very short description of the film tells the story of Red Miller, played by Cage, who takes revenge on a hippie cult who murdered his wife. Mandy is an 80s-tastic passion for weird worlds and characters that take full advantage of Cage's greatness and then some. As mentioned, this movie has gotten raving reviews, but I just couldn't handle all the blood and gore and the road to hell that this movie was depicting. Take this review as you must. After all, some bad movies are purely bad, whereas others are good bad. I guess this one is good bad for most people, but remains sickening for myself. Okay, well, that's it for my 5 worst Nicolas Cage movies. Please be sure to check out my other 2 Cage videos. The first video is a retrospective view on his career and various aspects of his life, and the second video explores his top 5 best movies. Please be sure to hit the like button and subscribe. And on the last note, take these top 5 and top worst reviews with a grain of salt. They're just my opinion, and I know that everyone has their best and worst. Well, have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video.